We're on.
Nuh-uh.
Quit doing that.
Stop it.
Hey, I'm Lex.
I'm Jason from PDQ.com.
We'll meet at the flagpole after, but right now we're going to help you guys optimize deploy.
Brothers from another mother.
And inventory.
And inventory.
Do both, yeah. So let's jump in. Thanks for derailing my train.
I was still doing our intro.
Inventory. We're going to start there because that's there's a lot to optimize there.
A lot more things we can edit and change and tweak.
Absolutely. So first place we're going to start, let's just jump right in and go to your preferences. So options, preferences, and I just want to jump down real quick. Let's go to logging really quick.
Sure.
I want to bring this up, okay? Big databases are cumbersome, so a lot of the optimization would be cleaning up your database, getting stuff out that you really don't need. So I just want to point out right here under debugging, if you got that checked, you're collecting a lot of data. Now there's reasons for this. Obviously, you're probably talking to support, and they're needing some information for you. But if you don't need it, don't check it there because it collects info for you.
Yeah, usually when we're trying to troubleshoot things, it's a lot of data.
You can meet my event logs. They're full of deploy debug logging. I don't recommend it.
Yeah.
All right, so again, smaller, compact database, better performance.
Sure.
Where do you want to jump?
Let's take a network. Ooh, heartbeat.
You make my heart skip a beat, bro.
Then you dealt with this at a customer.
Yeah, okay. So at a customer.
Just the other day.
Yeah, I love going out and working with customers. I learn a lot. Heartbeats. Now, again, if you've got a large environment, you're going to need to adjust this.
Now, this is, just to be clear, this isn't a heartbeat trigger. This is a heartbeat ping that we're doing on our computers.
This is setting it up so it automatically goes on and checks to see if your machines are online. It's set at 300 seconds here, and that's great if you've got an environment as big as ours.
33 computers.
In fact, it's probably fine up to once you hit a couple of thousand machines.
Yeah.
Now, does anybody know specifically, is it 64, 62 pings it does at a time when it does that heartbeat? There's a distinct number for the math portion of this.
I think it's set to queue up 64 and then work back through the queue at 64 if memory serves.
Okay, so if you start doing the math, let's say you've got 10,000 machines, you're going to want to make sure that you increase that interval so that you make sure you don't spawn another set of pings before it finishes the first one.
Right.
If you have enough machines, you can get kind of stuck in a heartbeat loop where there's always too many machines going. So as soon as one pops out, another, it's just an endless queue of too many machines.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of machines, maybe back that off just a bit if you notice any issues.
I think out of the box, it's a great setting, but if you're going to have a large environment like that, you definitely want
like
to
if you
bump
have
it up.
10,000 machines, maybe don't pick 120 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Now, a lot of this stuff we're going to be showing you guys is you're going to need to swag it, and that would be a scientific wild arithmetic guess. Come on, man, help me out
I
here.
don't care as long as you keep your shoes on.
Okay. So, again, figure if we're doing 64 at a pop, you might want to kind of run the numbers and make sure, I'd bump that 600, 900,
Sure.
depending on your environment size.
I'm going to just pop in here.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody, this is Shane. So the heartbeat is actually set to do it does a ping, and we do have it set to timeout at 1 second.
Okay.
So after 1,000 milliseconds. So if you have a slow if there's some latency issues in your environment, the max is, we will try to ping. We'll ping and wait for 1 second for a return, for an echo reply. If that doesn't happen, then we'll mark that as offline. But when you're talking about 64, some of those happen in 23 milliseconds or 90 milliseconds. But it could take up to 1,000 milliseconds, and that obviously will make those machines go through slower if you have a slower network.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, man. I love that because that take that into consideration with the swag. The more you know, the better, obviously.
Yeah. The other thing we were going to touch on this panel was the test multiple addresses. This is basically taking any IP address that shows up for a machine, like a laptop that you have on a docking station. You can take it around. It'll keep track of all those, and the first one that responds. So that'll help with that kind of traffic.
Yeah. Excellent. What else we got?
Let's see.
Cleaning up the database. More database cleanup.
This doesn't go along with your full contact IT, though. This is,
It doesn't?
You like to keep everything.
Well, okay, no.
Normally.
Full contact, I keep nothing. But no, this is going, let's pull up the deployments page so they can see what this is actually going to refer to in regards to cleaning things up.
Okay, let's open up Allen Rails. Go down here to deployments.
You notice we have a ton of deployments here. 4.
A ton.
Yeah. again, the more you deploy, the more history you're going to have, the more that database is going to grow. Again, cumbersome equals slow. So if you don't need stuff out 180 days, I'd make that number smaller.
Yeah, and be careful about putting it at 0, especially with larger environments.
Doesn't 0 disable it?
Yeah, let's go back. 0 keeps it forever, and it says that.
Forever.
Actually, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
It doesn't have that option.
All right, I'd
And a note
reduce
about
it.
that one, if you have a really large deploy database with, many millions of deployments, lots of deployments, if you have that set to pull an infinite amount of deployments, you can run into some performance issues. So if you have a lot of deployments, maybe back that off to something, because it's only going to affect the information in inventory,
Right.
not your deploy data.
Right.
So
Thank you for the clarification. Absolutely.
it can get fun.
Yeah,
I would definitely do that.
clean it up.
Yeah, we'll be aggressive. Five days.
You want me to touch a number?
I wouldn't do that if I were you guys, but just as an example.
And don't forget, on any of these settings, you have to save them.
Absolutely.
Okay, performance.
All right, lots to talk about here. In regards to scans, again, I was out with a customer and they had excess of 10,000 machines and they were having some performance issues. And so, we went in and I was taking a look at how many concurrent scans they had. They had excess of 200 concurrent scans. Now, what I noticed was happening is it would spawn these off and they'd start finishing and the data would come back and it would end up filling up the scan folder because it needs to read that data into the database.
Right.
The other thing I also noticed, and I found this out from support, is if you've got a really big environment, it's better to put it on a server because a server can handle more network connections.
Right. That traffic.
So, yeah. Shane, what do you got, bud?
I think especially when it comes to inventory, the biggest bang for the buck as far as changes is when we've had customers come back and say, I moved my the disk that had the database, I moved that to solid state.
Absolutely.
That solid state, because there's a lot of reading and writing coming
Sure.
out of that. That solid state was the single biggest improvement to where, 10,000, that's a lot. I mean, you're getting into enterprise level, folks, where PDQ Deploy Inventory weren't quite meant for that. And we have people that exceed 20,000, but there's a lot of tweaking you have to do. If you can get your database onto, a solid state drive, you're going to see a significant improvement. Obviously, memory is also a big one.
Sure.
And I know you guys are going to cover
Absolutely.
the inventory scans, the scan history. You mentioned deploy. There's not a lot of reason to keep old scan data in there.
Right.
But deploy, cool. But solid state, everybody.
Absolute solid state. Another thing, since we're talking hardware, another great thing, Shane brought up memory. Again, we just pop up to database. You'll notice our database size here is super, super large. It's 9 meg. Obviously, here's the thing. If you can get that read into memory, it's also going to run faster on your queries and stuff and your updates. So, as you're looking at the size of your database, you can also, size your memory, especially if you've got a VM to handle that. So let's take a question. Sure.
Dear Lex and Jason, new to PDQ, is there a BitLocker indicator on/off in inventory? Sincerely, Sean, this is a professional photo. G.
Nice, Sean.
Absolutely. So BitLocker indicator, are we talking, if I go here to Allen Rails and go to disk drives, I've got columns.
right here.
Yeah, I'm just showing all the columns.
Oh, wow.
So we've actually got BitLocker protection here, but we've got all these other columns that are hidden by default that will show any kind of BitLocker status and so forth.
So,
You can add all these columns to your view as well as the main view.
Or 1 or 2 columns.
Yeah, you get. Sure. So let's do.
let's do percent encrypted. I like that one.
Okay.
And then the other nice thing is you can just drag that up. Let's just drag that up to the front there, top, boom. and
That
then-
is that a new feature?
that is a new feature.
That
I
is a
love
new
that one.
feature.
There
So
it is.
yeah, you can see the BitLocker encrypted.
We've
right
encrypted none of that disk. Yep.
there. Excellent. Yeah, I mean it's not going to show the BitLocker key, but I've actually had that question. I've had that question. Is it going to show the BitLocker key? No.
No, we don't want to show you that.
Yeah.
We don't have access to that.
Exactly. Yeah, but just clarifying.
Let's go back to performance really quick.
All right.
Again with our concurrence. So again with that, if you want to do more scans, all right, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, swag that up. Do some math, right? And I like to jump in sections of 8, 16, 32, 64.
Right.
So we ended up bumping the concurrent scans to 64, and we had no problems.
And we're going to touch on this in a minute, but it's also going to be part of scan profiles that'll help with this.
Absolutely. And then finally, the other thing is, like, after you've done that, if you want to test it, pick 1,000 machines, hit the scan, time it, bump it up to 128, run that scan on, different set of machines, time it, give you an idea of the performance there. So
Cool. Let's go to scanning.
I love scanning.
I love scanning too.
Yeah.
Offline status. What to do with machines that are offline.
What to do?
Why does that make you chuckle?
I just, again, I have some of the greatest experiences with customers not understanding what some of this stuff does. But, okay, ping before scanning. Instead of just launching out
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Well, I liked how you explained it yesterday.
Well, oh, you mean what not to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for basically what we're saying is a global setting here, and this is also available on the scans as well to do a ping before scan. So what you want to do here is this is going to make it so that any kind of machine that doesn't answer pretty quickly is going to just go right to the next one and be considered offline. Otherwise, it's going to go and continue to try, making those concurrent scans take even longer.
Absolutely.
So
And we also need to just take point on Wake on LAN. If you got Wake on LAN set up and you're using it, just understand when you send a Wake on LAN, how long does that wait? Up to 5 minutes, 6 minutes?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Lex. But a recent change,
Oh.
we actually do, if there's a wake on LAN that's initiated, that actually gets removed from that queue and goes to a separate queue while it wakes up, so that we don't tie that up any longer. And then when it wakes up, it gets bumped to the front of the line. And if you, to mention, to call, okay, awesome. To call out, yeah, like Jason said, if you want to do the ping before, it will take about a minute. If a machine's offline, it will take about a minute if you don't do the ping before to time out, because at that point we turn it over to Microsoft's networking, to SMB, and SMB has a timeout right around 61 seconds, give or take. That's why it will take so long. People say, "Why, if it's offline, why is it taking so long?" Well, if you're not doing the ping, we're just sending that out and waiting for SMB to say there is no target here, which can take a while. So that's why you might want to do the ping before.
yeah, also to mention, when you do this option, it will change the message that you get. It'll say offline settings. So if you do scan a machine and it does attempt to ping it, it is offline, it'll come back with that message versus not having that message.
Absolutely. Yeah, hit it, man. I love auto cleanup.
That
Again, clumsy database, big.
this is
clunky,
again what Katie was saying. Setting it to 0 could be bad.
So,
But
Auto cleanup.
and this is the scan, so let's show where that's at.
You don't want to full contact IT yourself.
Well, yeah, true.
yeah.
No, if you have to wait for your database, you're just making your life harder.
Yeah. So this is basically, I went to the scans page on Allen Rails here, and so you can see all the
There's
different
that scan
scans that
history,
happened,
yeah.
what different profiles there were, and so forth. The other thing we didn't point out on the deployments as well, but especially if you're in central server and client mode, it'll show you the console user, the scan user, any kind of console that was connecting. So you can sort of use this information to audit,
Understand
if you will,
what's
going on in your
who's doing and
environment,
what's
who's-
doing, yeah.
what initiated a scan, if you got too many scans going on, that kind of thing. Okay,
Well, is it a good time to jump into scans since we've been talking scans?
yeah, let's talk about scan profiles.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and close preferences.
Before you get too far into that,
Yeah.
Oh, let's,
we do, every time we do an upgrade, we do effectively a vacuum, a SQLite vacuum on your database. So
we're going to talk
it doesn't get
about that too.
too dirty. Ooh,
She's
I'm getting
reading
ahead of
our
myself.
minds. We're
Yeah,
getting there.
no, perfect.
I love it.
Yeah, no, perfect. As a matter of fact, we'll just touch on that really quick. So what Katie was saying is, on the database page, you've got this optimized database. Now, keep in mind, anything that's running currently, it's going to stop.
It's gonna stop
It's
those
basically,
scans,
it's
yeah.
killing the process. So what that's going to do is go in and do a SQLite vacuum command. And that will be great once you get your data cleaned up, get all this stuff cleaned
Get
up.
it cleaned up, run that, and then periodically run it.
Yeah,
Should we take a question?
sure.
Okay.
Dear Lex and Jason, need to clean up auto-downloaded programs in Deploy. Is there a fast way to limit downloads to most recent 2 to 3 versions? Thanks, Jorlando D.
I love
Absolutely.
this question.
Yeah, so we're going to come back to scan profiles. So let's hop over to deploy really quick.
Yeah.
And let's go to the global settings and preferences and go to auto download. And right here, save copies of previous versions.
Now, you can minimize that. Now, the other thing, we pull up the package library, just so you know, let's say I downloaded 7-zip
Or let's do Java.
or Java. You'll notice over here on the right, I've got update 80, update 75, 71. You can go get those, and we've got them here, and we'll maintain them for a while, quite a while. But if there's something you're concerned about, grab it. But I don't really see a need to.
The only time I
there's a
could see keeping
yeah.
something in your console that's an older version is maybe you have, say, another product in your environment that relies on an old version of Java.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to keep that as part of a schedule for those machines and so forth without having to go get it every time. But really,
Other than that-
once new versions come out, you've got the latest and greatest.
Absolutely. So that's where you would do that.
Okay, let's hop back over to inventory, look at scan profiles. These are awesome. Okay.
Speaking of history, so let's say I've got that GPO scan, and we're not going to delete it, but let's say I got the data I needed, or I did a file scan, I got like, tons and tons of data.
You built this scanner, didn't you? Because there's no description.
Well, I like to be able to put my signature on work, spell it wrong, and
He got tired of us ripping him for his misspelling, so he just figured he would not type anything.
I'm a
Less is
minimalist.
I'm gonna go back through and be like, Lex done it.
Lex done it. But so here's the thing: you can collect the data. Well, let's say I'm done with that data, but I want to keep the scan profile.
Well,
this is not so.
So let's show this. This is not an extreme version of this, but let's say on Allen Rails, I go in here and I go to WMI, and I can see that scan has been applied. I ran this scan, so there's actual data here that I can use for collections, reports, etc. But let's say that I did a file scanner.
File scanner, and
you
you
look
had-
for all music files in every profile.
Let's pretend that we've got all
This is
just
full.
Okay.
And you found what you needed, you took action on it, you got rid of it, but you don't need all those results filling up your database.
but I don't want to get rid of that scan. Well, the data is tied to it. So what you do to get rid of that data and keep your scan is
So here, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, and I'm going to delete the previous one.
before you delete that, you need to make sure you understand if there's any dynamic collections or reports or anything linked to that data.
Right.
Because when you get rid of that data,
Right.
those reports and those collections.
Yeah,
are
I
not
mean,
gonna-
obviously, if you're running a GPO scan to find out what's applied so you can have a collection to identify targets for group
Yeah,
policies, you might not
absolutely.
want to go get rid of it. But if you are looking for, a Viagra.pdf file that might be in somebody's profile that,
I-
after you've
I'm
eradicated
not even going
it.
to touch that, man. I was like,
That was
why
actually
would that come to
that
mind?
was a support ticket I had years ago.
Really?
Where we did a
All right, good enough. Good
a
enough.
file scanner.
Let's not go down
Called
that
it Little
path.
Blue Pill. It was great.
Okay, so derailed the train, but copy it. Once you delete the old scanner, old data gets deleted.
So yeah, and essentially what Lex is saying, when we delete this, it'll actually get rid of the results
Mm-hmm.
as well. But that way you still have your scan profile that you can access and use again if you need.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about standard scan versus lightweight scan.
Okay, so you've got your standard scan runs, or at least here it's triggered to run every 7 days, and Hanks has got this up. You'll see it is pulling
Everything.
the majority of your data.
Yeah,
Right?
that's why it's the standard scan. It's the default scanner.
Well, what if I just want to go and run like a computer information scan on a subset of machines?
Okay.
Okay.
So I like to duplicate everything. I like to leave the default stuff alone.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if I look at the computer info, obviously I'm just getting computer details. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to go into the second one and I'm going to call it.
Let's say we're just going to scan servers.
Sure. Okay.
So at this point, you can set a trigger,
See how I named it?
and you even spelled it right. I love that.
And how often we want to do this? Every day?
No, let's do it like every 4 hours. We're going to find out if they're online. It's kind of a way to keep track of whether they're online. And that's why I didn't want to run the standard scan on,
Sure. Okay, so but this is going to run on every machine we've got.
right now it will.
Yeah.
Unless you go here, link to collections, just a subset. Oh, servers, there it is.
I've already got it here. But I could type that in the filter if I've got a particular collection. So now I'm only going to be scanning servers with that scan profile every 4 hours.
So if you've got aggressive scan profiles out there that collect a lot of data and you don't want to be, just queuing tons of stuff up, pinpoint that stuff, link to some collections, and that will definitely minimize the casting of the net.
Yeah, I personally, I tell every customer that I talk to. So the standard scan, or the default scan in this case, is what's going to be run when you add computers to the console, whether it's a network discovery, AD sync, anything like that. So anything that gets added is going to run that. After the fact, though, when you use deploy, you can scan after. So if you're deploying Google Chrome, You don't necessarily need to scan for everything in the standard scan profile, like file shares or
Computer
memory
details,
modules,
yeah,
things like
memory
that. So I generally like to use the application scanner, which shows just applications, computer details, hotfixes.
you
Very
go.
plain, simple, fast, done.
I like it. Question?
Yeah, before the question, also, so yes, when a computer's added to the database, the default scan will kick, the default scan profile will kick off. Also, after that, any scan profile that has a scan age trigger, because when a new computer's added, that scan age trigger is effectively, every scan age trigger will trigger because it will be, it's effectively 0. So if you say scan this scan profile every 6 days, default will always go first, and then it will just start saying, hey, let's look at the schedule. Trigger, this guy needs it, scan age. So you could, if you have like 8 profiles that have a lot of overlap, they all scan applications, they all scan hardware, you could have like 8 different scans backed up based off the scan age. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to clarify what Shane mentioned, so we did on our computer info for the servers, we did it every 4 hours.
That was
We
an
could
interval.
have also done a scan age trigger, which basically says after a scan age is over 4 hours, attempt to scan it again.
Yeah. Now, should we do a question?
Dear Lex and Jason, is there a preferred option between push versus pull for deploying across sites? Sincerely, Dr. Johnny M.
Sure.
Johnny M. Hey, there is, especially if you're deploying across sites, if you're using DFS, if you're using a file share to keep those located, I would definitely put it in pull. Push pushes it from the console, so if the console has to copy it from the file server to push it from the console, you get an extra copy. If you do a pull, console's going to send instructions, hey, go grab the install files from this share or this DFS share. So
Yeah.
But that your repository, in that case, you do need to make sure this is a valid UNC path that your credentials and inventory have access to.
Right, and keep in mind the repository is going to be for any packages you build and put the files there, or packages you download. You can have any package go to any location, but using the repository share, we'll just put it in that location. Will you go back to performance real quick?
Absolutely.
One other thing to mention, if you're in central server mode, everything's coming from that central server console. It's not coming from the client console, 3 offices.
So it's not coming from my machine specifically, it's coming from the server in the server room.
So if you've got a server in another state, it's coming from there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent. Good question.
Let's go right over. We talked about the saving copies. Auto download for the packages, going back to that, the global setting is 7 days. This is also something that can be changed per package. So
Absolutely.
if I go to this Adobe Reader DC patch and I go to options, I can actually uncheck that and say, you know what, I want that to be immediate. I want it as soon as it's released from PDQ Deploy, come on down.
Where this can be good is if you download 2 copies, you can have one that comes down immediate, and you can schedule out to your testing machines and automate your testing of that.
Yep.
And then the other would be on your standard.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see.
Hey guys, I want to throw on. So
Absolutely.
thank you for showing the question about the previous question about pull versus push, and you covered it. You know, if your packages exist on that server, generally push is fine unless you're DFS or. There is a way. I mean, that's a global setting, but there is a way you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. Maybe you have push set because all the packages are pretty much on that server, but maybe there's a huge AutoCAD package that is pointing to a different file share. You can actually change that package to pull while the rest of them push, and I want you to just to show them how to do that really quick.
Yeah, I've got that actually pulled up.
Beautiful.
So that's another option that you can change per package is to change the copy method.
You go to the properties of the package right here, options, and change it right there.
Yep.
Beautifully done, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good point,
This is-
Shane. Thank you, man.
And, some of these options are available in schedules and stuff too. So you've got customization all the way down.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's see. Let's go back to preferences.
Preferences. Why do you let me touch the mouse? Why?
Because I can't get to it fast enough without hitting your hand, and then I'm afraid that it's going to go everywhere
Hand
anyway.
is what it is.
It is.
Okay.
Well, I think we covered everything on here. You've also got the test multiple addresses, but
Total
you were-
concurrent targets.
Yeah,
And,
just over the concurrent targets per deployment and overall.
okay. You want to hit that? You want me to hit it?
Yep.
All right. Again, concurrent targets per deployment. We got it set at 8. So I can send 8 versions of Chrome out. Okay, your total concurrent target's 32, so I can send Chrome and Firefox, and we can get 8 of each of those going. Thing to notice, again, this is your swag, your network. It also, I'd consider, depending on the size of the file you're doing, because if you're pushing out, a bunch of Windows updates, let's say you're pushing 1803 and you're pushing 1709,
If you're pushing out a cumulative update
Yeah,
for
those
Windows
are-
10, you
those
might
are-
want to go, keep things down to a minimum at that point or lower that down if it's a problem.
Thank you. And the final thing is this, just make sure if you're going to change that, make sure you change your total concurrent targets first if you're going to up the concurrent targets, because concurrent targets, that 8 cannot be more than 32, and if you try to do it, it won't let you. So.
Yeah. The other thing we wanted to touch on was the deployments page.
Absolutely.
This is where we were talking about that the scan after. So we've actually said, let's go ahead and use the application scanner instead of the standard scan, the default. We chose that.
And the reason we did that is just it's a quicker scan, a little better performance than running a whole scan on everything when you just need to find out application information.
Sure. Now this cleanup option that we have here, where is that going to be affecting?
What do you mean?
Did I stump the chump?
Well,
No, so this is the different than the cleanup that we had in inventory before, where it was keeping
Absolutely.
track of the deployments. This is actually going to be over here. If I click back on this, any deployments that have happened are going to be kept right here.
Actually, if you go to all deployments, you can see all of them. It's going to clean up all of these.
Yeah, so this is how much it's going to
How much
keep a record of all the deployments.
That history, yes.
Yep. Well, let's go
It was
to,
such a, that I got stumped because I'm like, why would you ask that question? That's the simplest thing ever. And I'm like, there's got to be a trick.
yeah, well.
So I was trying to figure out. If
I
the trick
was getting ready to throw you the retry queue, but
Ah.
so offline status same as inventory ping before. Now, a couple things with the offline status that we've actually seen before.
Okay.
Send wake on LAN. Everything for wake on LAN comes from inventory. So where would it be a place that you wouldn't want to globally wake on LAN all of your machines?
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, right? Wake on LAN again. If we can't find one on the subnet, we'll try and find a machine we can contact on a different subnet. I had a customer not even 7 days ago call me up and goes, "My security guys called me. We're sending all this stuff from the console. What's going on?" And I popped in. He had his retry queue on. He had sent up wake on LAN, and so every hour he was trying to do all these wake on LANs to machines that were not on. So
Yeah.
again, retry queue, if you don't have inventory, it's one way to get stuff out. I would say the heartbeat schedule is definitely more elegant and a lot more concise about actually hitting the machines that need it. So
Definitely
so just to
definitely
clar-
recommend not using the retry queue globally. Use the retry queue on an as-needed basis.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so just to clarify what the retry queue is, again, for any machines that are considered offline, it's going to take all those machines and pop them into another queue and start another deployment.
in an hour in the interval.
Correct.
That's set. So
Should we go into the math again?
no. I tried doing math yesterday. It was not good.
Okay.
It was not good at all.
Let's
Let's
see.
do a question.
Sure.
Dear Lex and Jason, how do you optimize deployments without breaking the workflow of the logged in users who have running apps in need of an update? Sincerely, Marcel L.
Self-man.
He's so much nicer than you are, isn't he?
I think it's like I just unplug your phone, launch it, and then leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Full
For
contact IT,
Lexus isn't a problem because he just pushes it
Pushes
out.
it out to everybody.
He doesn't even
No.
he doesn't even give you a message like, "Hey guys, it's getting ready to break."
No. I do. I
Oh.
do it. You get 2 seconds, though, just enough to like, oh, there was something I needed to
You
read.
you do it on like the intercom, so they have to go to the phone, and then they realize something's happening on their computer.
He just sends
I'm
a
gonna
message
try
set
that.
that says, "Good luck."
Good luck.
Really, I guess that's up to
Realistically,
what you're deploying.
Boy, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're either going to have to do it off hours, or you're going to have to just be aware of what you're pushing out and who's
I
going
guess
to
you
be
could
affected by
send
it.
out a message in a sleep to be nice. I mean,
Well, I mean, we used to have to push out updates, and it would you'd have to have like Microsoft Outlook closed, and I had teachers that always left it open, so I would just kill it. But it would be in the wee hours of the morn,
yeah.
so I didn't have to worry about it.
So schedule it at night. But okay, if you got to do it during the day, send them a nice message, a warm and
email,
fuzzy. Hey,
email them before you kill Outlook.
there you go. Now use the message step, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, long message step. I'm going to close Outlook in 3 minutes. Please.
Please
Save your work.
your work.
Yeah. Let's see. What was the other thing? Oh, schedules. Now, again, super huge database here, lots of schedules, but maybe you inherited this from somebody else.
Absolutely.
You're going through cleaning this up. So how can too many schedules affect the database? What would be the reason to clean those up? Or
First thing I'd look for is anything you scheduled just to run once because you wanted to run it at night. So I wonder if we can filter and just type in the word once. There you go. Check it out. Once. They're all there. If they've run and they're not going to run again, why keep them?
yeah, I've actually seen this quite a bit when I work with customers
Yeah.
where they'll go in and they'll download a package like Google Chrome, and they will want to update Chrome and they will schedule it one time, and then that schedule just sits there. So what really is happening, anytime they're, especially for heartbeat triggers, things like that, all those schedules are getting evaluated. It's very quick, but having that huge,
Again,
tons and tons of schedules.
Cumbersome databases are slow, so keep them clean, keep them lean.
Yeah.
Lean and clean, yeah. Shane, do you have a thought?
you always
Yeah,
say
I mean, just for housekeeping, if you have the trigger run once, like you guys said, definitely don't keep that forever. Disabled schedules do not get processed, but otherwise, we process every second. The background service evaluates every single schedule and all the triggers therein. So if you've got 30, 40, we've seen some where 200
Yeah.
odd schedules, every second those are getting evaluated. That can add up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just be a little, have some house clean, do some housekeeping.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and as Shane said, you can disable schedules too. So what I'm actually going to do, I'll open the schedule first and show you one way. So you can actually go to the triggers and you can disable the trigger alone by disabling it like that. The other option you have is right-clicking and saying disable schedule. So now it's got a gray icon. You can see that these are already disabled.
Highlight them all real quick. I want to show you something else. My favorite
What?
for house cleaning. Highlight everything you want to get rid of and hit delete.
Except I right-clicked.
Yeah,
on it
you
and said-
right-clicked and I couldn't hit delete. Shouldn't let me touch the keyboard either.
Well, I was trying to stop you.
Clean. There we go. I don't have to worry about Chrome going out on Friday accidentally. Did I ever tell you that time I left that schedule and we ended up launching Java to everything because I was showing a customer?
Yeah, from a webcast, yeah.
Yep. Got another question? No questions?
Excellent.
Shane, any thoughts? Parting thoughts?
I have one more.
You have a parting thought.
Well, I'm just being pedantic. The same panel, the same page
absolutely.
that we had in inventory is also in deploy. So once you get everything cleaned up, do an optimize.
If you have deployments running, guys, big warning here, it's going to stop them. So
Yeah.
just be aware of what you're doing there. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if we've covered this, but there is a little background process. If you just cleaned up a crap ton of stuff, like you had a 16 gigabyte database and you did a lot of things to it, there's a little background worker that goes at a low priority and tidies up all that stuff. So don't hit, the optimized database button and then start looking and immediately assuming it's going to be gone. You might need to go to lunch first.
Gotcha.
there you go. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
We want to do a speed round of questions?
Sure.
I don't, but we'll do it anyways.
And it is time for the speed round. And just so you know, guys, some of these you may want to refer them to support. They get a little detailed
Okay.
occasionally. Just saying. All right, dear
practice
Lex and Jason, is there a way to show which dynamic collections haven't been used in a while? As our library has grown, it's become more difficult to keep track of any outdated collections. Thanks, John M.
Dynamic collections? I don't think
I
there's a
don't-
way to show the last time it was viewed.
No, let's go back. But
I'm looking over here. I'm seeing some heads shaking. I got a beard going.
I
back
don't
and forth.
I don't know of anything that shows on a particular collection that says the last time it was updated. You could go to deploy and look at the packages and see when the last time the package was updated, because we mimic the collections to the packages.
You could always do a mirror of what Lex did. Rather than deleting everything, you could just export all of your collections as XML, kind of housekeep. It's effectively like creating a backup of your collections, and then you could find out which ones you need and don't need.
When people call, hey, what happened to? Yeah, I got that
Oh,
one.
I
sec.
got it. Hey, let me put it
That's
back.
a good way to do it. I like it. Absolutely.
Perfect.
What else we got?
Dear Lex and Jason, I used to be able to run tools against multiple machines, but now it seems that ones with a run type of local no longer work that way. Was this taken out, or is it a bug? Thanks, David M.
I got that one. Email us. support@pdq.com. We were talking about you in the background, so
Yeah. Support@pdq.com.
Say Katie sent me.
It's like, yeah,
you
Yeah.
can say Katie sent you. It's okay. I'll watch for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Lex and Jason, is there a plan to add author to scheduled tasks in inventory? Sincerely, Kyle B.
Hey, Kyle.
Not that I'm
Is
aware
there
of. So what he's basically,
plan?
if I'm reading that correctly, what he's basically saying is in deploy, if I have a schedule, which we've
Wanna
deleted
see
all
who
of
made
them.
it.
Yeah, see who the author is.
Right.
The
I know
only,
what the word author means.
Are you?
I am messing with you, brother.
I know. The only thing I could think of, and again, it's not changing it so you can't edit it, would be to put that information in the description. That's what I used to do when I built packages.
Yeah.
You know, is I'd put last edited by so-and-so.
What else you got?
And our final speed round question. I have a dozen computers that have the following error in PDQ inventory. What does it really mean and how to resolve? Multiple connections to a server or shared resource by the same user using more than one username are not allowed. Disconnect all previous connections to the server or shared resource and try again. Thanks for your help, Chad B.
Hey, Chad, I want to take a stab at this one because I had the same problem when I was out of the customer and I had to call support. Like, guys, what does this mean? So basically, you need to make sure that your credentials are matching. So if you do like a domain, a full domain name, and your credentials,
Fully qualified, yeah.
thank you, that they're matching. Am I butchering this, Katie?
No, keep going.
Keep going. Okay, now I'm passing it to Katie. Go for it.
No, but it means that multiple accounts tried to use the same thing at the same time. So, you could have a drive mapped and some other stuff, but this is really a terrible speedrun question because it's not a one and done clean.
not a
Do
speedy
these
one,
three
yeah.
things and you'll get fixed. Yeah, it's an SMB thing, and SMB is not really a speedrun topic. It's
First thing to do, though, is
Super
check your
clever.
credentials. Make sure that the way you're logging in your credentials and the scanned user and all that, they're matching.
yeah,
And
and then
that
if you
helps.
keep having troubles, hit that submit this error to support. There's a couple links. Give us your email address, and we'll work with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Are we doing our booth bait pose?
Are we going to do the booth? I can't do the booth bait pose. Maybe I can. Thanks for watching.
I'm Jason.
I'm Lex from PDQ.com. We're going to go fight at the flagpole now. See y'all later.
Bye.
Thanks for joining our webcast today. Congratulations, John M. and David M. No relation, but they are winners of PDQ swag. Send us your info at webcast@pdq.com. Thanks again for joining us, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to our support forums. And we'll see you back here next week.